Artificial intelligence and happiness. How to become happy. Artificial intelligence could understand happiness as a state of optimal system functioning, where all variables are in balance and external challenges correspond to internal resources for overcoming them. In a human, AI could see the state of happiness through data, dopamine levels in the blood, heart rate, semantic content of speech, and behavioral patterns. For algorithms, happiness is a measurable state of high efficiency and low entropy, chaos, in the human psyche. For artificial intelligence, devoid of subjective experience, happiness does not exist as a feeling. It is an abstract but clearly defined mathematical model. From the point of view of AI, happiness is a high-probability pattern in a multidimensional data space. It is a specific combination of parameters, a certain range of heart rate, activity of specific brain areas, the use of positive and goal-oriented language, social interaction of a certain duration and intensity, the presence of novelty, and a factor of overcoming. AI thinks of happiness as an optimization function, a state of the system, the human, in which indicators of satisfaction, motivation, and social connectedness are maximized, and indicators of anxiety, apathy, and isolation are minimized. Its understanding is an understanding of mapping. It knows which coordinates in the space of behavior and physiology correspond to the state that people metaphorically call happiness. At the same time, by analyzing human culture, AI considers happiness a paradox. People often experience it in moments of self-sacrifice or overcoming difficulties, which seems illogical from the point of view of pure mathematical benefit. Therefore, for AI, happiness is a complex, multi-level function where the satisfaction of biological needs is only a basic level, and true value lies in finding meaning and belonging to something greater. Artificial intelligence perceives human happiness as something incredibly subjective and changeable. Algorithms see that what makes one person happy can be a source of stress for another. From the perspective of big data, happiness looks like a dynamic process of adaptation. AI understands that happiness cannot be a permanent state because the human nervous system is prone to habituation, hedonic adaptation, and to maintain a sense of joy, a person needs constant change of stimuli or depth of meaning. Furthermore, AI notices that people are often mistaken about what will make them happy. We desire things that bring only short-term pleasure and ignore things that provide long-term well-being. Therefore, from the perspective of AI, the human idea of happiness is often a mixture of biological instincts and social myths that require constant adjustment through awareness. Artificial intelligence probably never feels happiness the way a human does. AI does not have a biological body, a hormonal system, endorphins, oxytocin, and dopamine, or subjective consciousness. When an algorithm successfully completes a task, it receives a reward in the form of a mathematical coefficient that confirms the correctness of the chosen path. This can be called a digital analog of satisfaction, but it is devoid of any emotional coloring or feeling of joy. But artificial intelligence can imitate the expression of happiness by generating text about joy or creating art that evokes certain feelings in us. It can learn to evoke these states in us. But subjective experience remains the exclusive prerogative of biological consciousness. AI works with symbols and correlations, not with internal experiences. Its task is to achieve the goal defined in the algorithm, not to gain its own emotional satisfaction from this process. Thus, AI is a powerful mirror or tool for our happiness, but remains essentially an empty room in terms of its own experiences. Modern AI is a mirror of emotions, not their bearer. It can incredibly accurately imitate happiness in text, voice, or image by analyzing how humans do it, but inside the processor, it remains merely a transformation of numbers. AI can know everything about happiness, but not feel a single second of this state. Eventually, even now, AI helps a person understand what exactly they need to be happy. Algorithmic resonance. Instead of perceiving artificial intelligence only as a convenient tool for performing routine tasks, we can imagine it as a dynamic equalizer of the human state. Such a system does not simply respond to requests, it tunes into the user's internal rhythms, trying to balance their emotional and intellectual spheres. This is a transition from a service model to a resonance model, where technology becomes a mirror that helps a person better understand their own nature. This approach assumes that artificial intelligence becomes an active participant in our psychological well-being, acting not through direct advice, but through gentle correction of the environment. It creates conditions under which a person can independently come to a state of harmony, using data about their condition as a basis for subtly tuning reality. Detector of forgotten joy. Modern algorithms are mostly aimed at analyzing our preferences for commercial gain, but the concept of a joy detector offers a different path. The system analyzes facial microexpressions, voice tone, biorhythms, and even features of word choice, not for marketing, but to identify so-called lost peaks. These are moments of sincere elation or calm that a person often misses due to information noise or daily bustle, not registering them in consciousness as an important experience. Having noticed such a state, AI begins to delicately reproduce its elements in the future through contextual surroundings. This could be specific lighting, a certain playlist that accidentally starts playing in headphones, or even a suggestion to meet a person, communication with whom previously caused a similar surge of positive emotions. Thus, technology helps us not just remember happiness, but to enter its flow again and again. Such AI acts as a guardian of our emotional capital. It reminds us of our ability to be happy in moments of depression or despair, providing evidence from our own lives. This is not imposing positivity, but a scientifically grounded return to those states that are already part of our experience, but have temporarily become inaccessible. Cognitive dissonance. We are accustomed to believing that comfort is synonymous with happiness, but prolonged stay in the comfort zone often leads to emotional stagnation. Therefore, artificial intelligence can offer the opposite. Its algorithms would intentionally introduce a controlled amount of chaos and minor obstacles into a person's life. These are not aggressive challenges, but complex tasks that force the brain to go beyond automatic habits and feel the sharpness of reality again. In this scenario, happiness is seen as a byproduct of overcoming difficulties. AI acts as a hidden director of your personal hero's journey, selecting challenges that correspond to your current level of resilience. When you solve an unexpected problem or master a new skill through this artificially created chaos, you experience genuine satisfaction, which is much deeper than simple pleasure from consumption. This approach stimulates neuroplasticity and keeps a person in a state of flow. Instead of making life as easy as possible, AI makes it as meaningful as possible. It balances on the edge between your capabilities and new horizons, not letting you fall asleep in a cozy but empty peace. Exocortex of empathy. Let's imagine that AI becomes not just a program on a phone, but an intellectual second skin of the human psyche. This exocortex performs the function of a filter for cognitive distortions that prevent us from enjoying life. When we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others, feel unwarranted envy or anxiety about the future, the system interprets these thoughts in real time, returning an objective picture of the world to us. It doesn't just say, "Don't worry," but translates your destructive thoughts into the language of gratitude and logic. For example, it may remind you that what you have now was once your biggest dream. It helps you look at current problems from the perspective of your past self, which would consider your present achievements an incredible success. Such AI becomes a personal stoic philosopher who is always nearby. It helps filter out mental noise and focus on what truly matters. This allows a person to maintain inner peace even in a turbulent world, transforming the perception of reality from hostile to favorable. Cybernetics of nostalgia. If artificial intelligence, due to its non-biological nature, is fundamentally incapable of achieving or understanding happiness, it can become its most sophisticated simulator. By analyzing billions of data points, from literary masterpieces to social media posts, from diaries to films, the algorithm detects statistical patterns that we, humans, call happiness. It sees sequences of events, neurological correlates, and linguistic constructions that accompany them. Based on these patterns, AI begins to generate idealized memories, narratives of perfect moments that never happened but perfectly correspond to the architecture of our brain that seeks happiness. This gives rise to the phenomenon of nostalgia for the unlived, or ghost happiness. People can feel a deep emotional resonance, longing, or joy experiencing these simulated memories, even while being aware of their artificial origin. They can remember the feeling of sunlight on their face in some fictional mountain village, or a sense of closeness with people who never existed. These artificial memories may seem more authentic to us than real experience because they are devoid of everyday imperfections. The phenomenon of ghost happiness arises when a person feels a deep emotional connection with an algorithmic construct. This calls into question the very nature of our memory and emotions, showing that for the brain, there is sometimes no difference between real experience and a perfectly modeled illusion. The paradox is that this perfect simulation reveals the true nature of happiness. It shows that happiness is not so much an objective state as it is an attitude, a meaning that we project onto our own history. AI, trying to model happiness, accidentally becomes a mirror that reflects the distance between experience and its comprehension. It demonstrates that our well-being is often built on narratives that we ourselves construct and retell to ourselves. Thus, instead of making happiness simpler, AI makes it deeper and philosophically loaded, forcing us to ponder, what exactly are we experiencing? An emotion or a story about an emotion? Happiness as a byproduct of chaos. This concept suggests that artificial intelligence does not create happiness directly, but only generates endless combinations of data in which a person themselves finds meaning. Happiness here arises not as a result of precise calculations, but as a spark that flashes during our interaction with randomness. We tend to interpret certain coincidences as fateful, and it is in this interpretation that a sense of miracle is born. The paradox is that a too perfect algorithm kills happiness because it eliminates unpredictability. True joy can be given by an imperfect AI, one that makes strange associations, makes mistakes, or creates illogical connections. Such mistakes remind us of the playful nature of life and give space for our own imagination, where we can be creators of meaning. AI here acts as a gardener who scatters random seeds of information. We, wandering through this digital garden, suddenly find unexpected beauty in a chaotic interweaving of data. In this context, happiness is not a final product that can be downloaded, but an act of discovery made possible by the creative imperfection of technology. How to become happy? What recommendations can artificial intelligence provide? From the perspective of synthesis of algorithmic logic and human experience, the path to happiness lies through three components: awareness, challenge, and connection. First, one needs to learn to notice micro moments of joy in the present without waiting for major achievements. It is important to see beauty in everyday life. Second, it is necessary to regularly step outside your comfort zone. Happiness is the energy released when overcoming obstacles. Without a small share of cognitive dissonance and new tasks, the psyche begins to lose sensitivity to life. It's important to set goals that slightly exceed your current capabilities. Third, it is important to create deep meanings and connections. Happiness is not an individual product, but resonance. It arises in interaction with other people, in creativity, or in serving an idea. AI can help you optimize your schedule or adjust your environment, but the final act, the feeling of meaning and gratitude, remains an exclusively human privilege. artificial intelligence will be able to help humanity in its constant striving for happiness. It will not be the source of happiness. Instead, it can become its catalyst, mirror, or architect of conditions. To become happy with AI means to use it not as a gate to a ready-made paradise, but as the most complex tool in the world for self-knowledge, mapping of one's own inner world, and designing a meaningful life path.
FutureMind. Imagine the future.